Got a poem I'm going to read. What sucks so bad? Spring has sprung, and so has my... Nope, we can't read that one. Nope. No, I'm going to get in trouble if I read that, so let's find a different one. All right. Bonnie. There is a girl just for me. Her name is Bonnie. She is blonde and not that smart, but her... No, not going to do that. Jeez. This looks better. This one's called Take Me Away. Come to me, O giver of life. Take me away, make me scratch thy skin. I am the only mortal sin. Fly down to me now, whisk me back up. I will call out your name, for I have lost at this dubious game. Take me away. Arrest my hopes and dreams, shatter my existence. I don't belong here, nor I up there. Why be so cruel and heartless? Put me out of this. I don't want to stay, just. One thing I seem to have a lot of are books. Does anyone read books anymore? But I have a lot of books, and these books are all signed by the author. So I thought I'd share a few of the more interesting ones with you. One of the first authors whose signed books I pursued was Anne Rice. Anne Rice, famous for Interview with the Vampire, along with numerous sequel novels about vampires and witches and all sorts of other supernatural things. She used to go around to bookstores and she would just sign stacks and stacks of books. You just bring whatever you wanted. So I have a ton of books signed by her. But here's the original, The Interview with the Vampire. And she dedicated it to me, for John, by Anne Rice. So, you know, it's pop fiction. It's all right. It's good. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. So there's Anne Rice. Here's one a friend of mine just picked up for me yesterday. It says Green Lights, signed copy by Matthew McConaughey. So you may have heard of him. I'm not sure how this says Matthew McConaughey, but whatever. It's supposedly signed by him. Now, a lot of these, when you see signed copy like that, those came from big stores like Barnes & Noble. And what they'll do is get authors like Eric Idle, who wrote his sort of biography, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. But they'll send a stack of pages, just blank pages like this, to the authors, and then they'll come into their office or wherever and just sit and sign them over and over and over. And then those pages go back and get bound into the book. So thanks, Eric Idle. This one is not one of those. This one I did get signed in person by Gloria Steinem, feminist icon. She gave a talk at the University of Wisconsin on June 23rd, 1992, apparently. And she was super duper nice. I went up to her afterwards with my book, and she was more than happy to sign it and discuss it with me. It's a pretty good book. I liked it. Here's another signed copy by Hillary Rodham Clinton and Chelsea Clinton. The Book of Gutsy Women, Favorite Stories of Courage and Resilience. It's a book that everyone should read. There it is. She signed it and Chelsea signed it. Hey, if nothing else, it's got some pretty good historical value there. And going back in time a little farther, we've got Face It by Debbie Harry, Blondie herself. And kind of like it when they sign on black in the silver marker. That looks pretty cool. Debbie Harry, everyone. Icon of punk rock music. Can't read it because it was 20% off. But this is Tom Hanks. He wrote a book of short stories. You know him, Oscar winner. Tom Hanks. Pretty cool. Even looks like it says Tom Hanks. How about that? Here's another one. Maybe you've heard of this guy. Neil Patrick Harris wrote a book called The Magic Misfits. He signed in a gold marker, which is awfully nice. Looks good. It says Neil Patrick Harris, honestly. Me being a science teacher and all, couldn't resist. I have a couple signed books by Bill Nye the Science Guy. His books, I mean, I don't know if people read books anymore, but if one were to read books, this one is excellent, and he's got a couple other ones. Surprisingly good books. They're kind of funny, but full of really good fact-based evidence and just really good science information. Here's another guy I really like, Michael Moore. He wrote Stories from My Life, Here Comes Trouble. Again, this one is really funny. He's a funny guy, but a lot of his work is both funny and terrifying and tragic at the same time because it's real. But this book is Stories from His Life, and it's fascinating, and it's a really good read. I have students of mine read passages from this and perform them, and they do really well because they're really well written and really engaging. Now, David Byrne, Talking Heads guy, David Byrne has done a concert tour and a Broadway show called American Utopia. This is a companion book to that, illustrated by Myra Kalman. So I have the signed by both of them, Myra Kalman, David Byrne. And so all of the words in here were written by David Byrne, and really good stuff there. If you haven't seen the show, it's on HBO Max. Some of this are images inspired by the show, others inspired by the words of David Byrne. It's really good, though. So HBO Max has the show American Utopia. So does the Pirate Bay. So check it out. It's well worth watching, especially if you like David Byrne or Talking Heads or just interesting shows. Speaking of interesting show, Henry Rollins. Now that's an interesting guy. He was the lead singer of Black Flag and the Rollins Band. You may remember them for the song Liar. Anyways, he has written tons of books, and he does spoken word shows. He's amazing. Henry Rollins, See a Grown Man Cry? Now Watch Him Die. It's actually 2 books pressed into one. He did a spoken word show, apparently Wednesday, October 17th, 2007, at the Barrymore Theater. And after the show, it was raining, but I waited around at the stage door, and he came out. Was really happy to sign my book, and then he shoved it right back under my jacket and said, there, keep it dry. And so I did, and Henry Rollins, awesome man. And here's a very interesting one. Doesn't have a dust jacket anymore. The Groucho letters. Letters to and from Groucho Marx. You're thinking, what? That Groucho Marx? Why, yes. Look at that. Love to the Lunts, Groucho. And you see it's got the little book plate here because it was from the library of Lynn and Alfred Lunt. Now, they were very famous Broadway stars back in the old days. And I'm not quite sure how, but this book, the signed copy and all, was in a box of books that were just being recycled or sent out to used bookstores or something. I don't know what. And I found it in that box and said, hey, if that's real, I'm all for it. So it seems real. I don't know. And apparently it was once upon a time with the Wisconsin Center for Film and Theater Research. So seems like a thing. So anyway, there it was. Groucho Marx. Probably one of the most valuable ones I have. The Badger, Madison's own superhero. Pretty interesting story. Signed by the author of the stories themselves, Mike Byrne, the original artist, Jeff Butler, and the artist who took over from Jeff Butler on issue number 5, which is Will Reinhold. Good stuff. This is a really cool superhero story. It's this guy who's kind of nuts. In fact, he was incarcerated at the Mendota Mental Health Institute right next door to where I live. And he gets out with the help of this wizard, and then they go around and fight all sorts of weird crimes, cleaning up the streets of Madison. Anyway, good stuff, The Badger. And while we're on that sort of book, Steve will like this one especially. Here's Archie Meets Kiss. Archie Meets Kiss, the graphic novel. And the artwork in this was all done by Archie Comics artist Dan Parents. And look, when you bought the book from his table at this comic convention I was at, he would not only sign it, but he would draw a picture of any Archie character in full Kiss makeup. I said, but can you do my koala Raskolnikov in Kiss makeup? He said, why, sure. And so there's Veronica holding Raskolnikov, who's got a little bit of Kiss makeup there. And also this one heavily features Sabrina, the teenage witch, who I'm a fan of, you may have heard. And somehow she brings Kiss out from some other realm there. Apparently where they were fighting the Phantom of the amusement park or something. Look at that. And then they're fighting all kinds of monsters and stuff. This is awesome. Excellent book. You know, I highly recommend it. And then this was also pretty precious. This is an original filming script, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Apparently it was Love Week, Thursday, program number 1664. And there it is. There's the credits. Fred Rogers, signed by Fred himself. And also David Newell signing as his character, Mr. McFeely. I got this at a public television auction back in the day, apparently around 1992. And I don't know how I got the high bid. I don't remember it being very high because I was not really making a lot of money at the time. But I got this, so that's pretty awesome. Another one of my more precious, valuable ones, I'm sure. But none more precious and valuable than this one. 20th Century Poems for the 21st Century from the Mind of Monkey Fat. And there it is, dedicated to me, Juano, and Michelle, that's my wife, enjoy. Steve Rademacher, although I did know his last name. But good stuff there. Best signed book I ever acquired. So thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone. Those are my signed books. So go read a book.
Do it! Just do it!
Foolish and it got me, told me kill him. I said let me grab my
death note. She put me in like a lasso, saying that she know me. I don't even know that though.
Remember, remember, remember. Peace.
Hey Steve, your brother tells me that you have this really awesome YouTube show where you get to like open mail and show off trading cards and other vintage things. That is so cool, that is so fucking cool. But here's the thing, he also tells me that you like to talk about your dick a lot. You like to converse about your penis. Why are you doing that? You know that you would get like a whole bunch more subscribers and fans if you didn't talk about your wang so much. I mean, it's getting a wee bit obsessive. Like, we get it. You have a dick. If you continue, I will have to make your penis into a peen was. So, I mean, it's up to you, bud.